Well, good evening, Little Masters, and welcome to episode 257 of the Prancing Pony podcast where, well, we're going on, but we're settling with you first.
Well, if by you mean the giant spider that just attacked us, yeah.
Yeah, I do.
But folks, go ahead and pull up a bench in the common room. I'm Sean Marchese, the Lord of the Mark, and I'm here with the man of the West, who has rarely cried in a language he did not know. We're not going to say never. Alan Sisto.
I was going to say, you haven't been near me when I've stubbed my toe, Sean, so I'm not really sure that counts as a language.
No. That's more like, pardon my French.
Yeah, exactly. If blue is a language. All right. Well, folks, tonight we are going to face off against Shelob one final time in the first part of the last chapter of Book 4, The Choices of Master Samwise.
Oh, yeah. And folks, does he have some tough choices to make?
Mm-hmm.
There's going to be some great stuff here, folks.
Yes, there will.
Now, for those of you joining us for the first time, here at the Prancing Pony podcast, we are reading and talking our way through Tolkien's stories of Middle-earth, a few pages at a time.
We dive into the details, point out connections to other writings, and talk about our favorite themes.
But we also make sure we have a lot of fun along the way. So we're glad you've joined us.
Indeed, and we know you'll be glad you joined as well. But before we get to tonight's reading, it's time to see what's happening with our friends in our last Meanwhile Elsewhere in Middle-earth for this season.
This has been a great segment this season. I mean, this is really the time to do it, is when we've got all these, these different storylines going on, especially in the Two Towers.
I agree.
So today is March 13th, in the book, of course.
Right.
And the action is coming fast and furious throughout the text at this point. First of all, the Pelennor is being overrun by the enemy at this point. In Book 5, Chapter 4, The Siege of Gondor, we read, "The bells of day had scarcely rung out again, a mockery in the unlightened dark, when far away he," and this is Pippin, "saw fires spring up, across in the dim spaces where the walls of the Pelennor stood. The watchmen cried aloud, and all men in the city stood to arms. Now, ever and anon, there was a red flash, and slowly through the heavy air, dull rumbles could be heard. They have taken the wall, men cried. They are blasting breaches in it. They are coming.
Yeah. Later on, we read this. Time passed. At length, watchers on the walls could see the retreat of the out-companies. Small bands of weary and often wounded men came first with little order. Some were running wildly as if pursued. Away to the eastward, the distant fires flickered, and now it seemed that here and there they crept across the plain. Houses and barns were burning. Then, from many points, little rivers of red flame came hurrying on, winding through the gloom, converging towards the line of the broad road that led from the city gate to Osgiliath. "The enemy," men murmured. "The dike is down. Here they come pouring through the breaches, and they carry torches, it seems. Where are our own folk?" It drew now to evening by the hour, and the light was so dim that even far-sighted men upon the citadel could discern little clearly out upon the fields, save only the burnings that ever multiplied and the lines of fire that grew in length and speed.
Well, and finally we get to this point. So now at last the city was besieged, enclosed in a ring of foes. The Rammus was broken, and all the Pelennor abandoned to the enemy. The last word to come from outside the walls was brought by men flying down the northward road ere the gate was shut. They were the remnant of the guard that was kept at that point where the way from Anorian and Rohan ran into the townlands. Ingold led them, the same who had admitted Gandalf and Pippin less than 5 days before, while the sun still rose and there was hope in the morning. "There is no news of the Rohirrim," he said. "Rohan will not come now, or if they come, it will not avail us."
Indeed, the Pelennor has been overrun. And in the midst of that, Faramir is also injured, and that's another thing we want to touch on in this segment. There we read, "Last of all he came. His men passed in. The mounted knights returned, and at their rear the banner of Dol Amroth and the prince. And in his arms, before him on his horse, he bore the body of his kinsman, Faramir, son of Denethor, found upon the stricken field." "Faramir! Faramir!" men cried, weeping in the streets. But he did not answer, and they bore him away up the winding road to the citadel and his father. Even as the Nazgul had swerved aside from the onset of the White Rider, there came flying a deadly dart, and Faramir, as he held at bay a mounted champion of Harad, had fallen to the earth. Only the charge of Dol Amroth had saved him from the red Southland swords that would have hewed him as he lay. The Prince Imrahil brought Faramir to the White Tower, and he said, "Your son has returned, Lord, after great deeds." And he told all that he had seen. But Denethor rose and looked on the face of his son and was silent.
Man.
Oh, man. Oh, man.
Not only that's just plain heartbreaking, but man, the gaffer has got some serious competition for Father of the Year.
You're so right. You're absolutely right. It's like Gaffer's giving tips to Denethor. Denethor's like, hold my beer.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Man.
Well, what you need to do is need to call him Ninnyhammer more. Like Denethor's like, no, I just won't say anything.
That's right.
Just give him the silent treatment.
I'll just tell him I loved his brother more.
Yeah. Man.
Just be straight up honest about it. Yeah.
Poor Gaffer's like, wow, that's cold.
That's brutal, man.
Anyway.
Oh.
Well, look, it's not all without hope, because yesterday in the timeline, Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli actually arrived at Pelargir.
Right.
Now, we read that in our last Meanwhile Elsewhere in Middle-earth segment, but today is the day that they get the enemy's fleet into their hands. Gimli tells us in Book 5, Chapter 9, The Last Debate, "That night we rested while others labored, for there were many captives set free, and many slaves released who had been folk of Gondor taken in raids. And soon also there was a great gathering of men out of Lebendin and the Aethir, and Angbor of Lamadon came up with all the horsemen that he could muster. Now that the fear of the dead was removed, they came to aid us and to look on the heir of Isildur, for the rumour of that name had run like fire in the dark. And that is near the end of our tale, for during that evening and night many ships were made ready and manned, and in the morning the fleet set forth. Long past it now seems, yet it was but the morn of the day ere yesterday, the 6th since we rode from Dunharrow."
That's right. And finally, let's go ahead and see what's going on with Merry, Éowyn, Éomer, and Theoden as the Riders of Rohan make their way toward Gondor. In Book 5, Chapter 5, The Ride of the Rohirrim, Merry has just been lamenting not having Pippin to talk to when we read this. A tall figure loomed up and stumbled over him, cursing the tree roots. He recognized the voice of Elfhelm the Marshal. "I am not a tree root, sir," he said, "nor a bag, but a bruised hobbit. The least you can do in amends is to tell me what is afoot." "Anything that can keep so in this devil's murk," answered Elfhelm. "But my lord sends word that we must set ourselves in readiness. Orders may come for a sudden move." "Is the enemy coming, then?" asked Merry anxiously. "Are those their drums? I began to think I was imagining them, as no one else seemed to take any notice of them." Nay, said Elfhelm. "The enemy is on the road, not in the hills. You hear the Woses, the wild men of the woods. Thus they talk together from afar. They still haunt Druidan Forest, it is said. Remnants of an older time they be, living few and secretly, wild and wary as the beasts. They go not to war with Gondor or the Mark, but now they are troubled by the darkness and the coming of the orcs. They fear lest the dark years be returning, as seems likely enough. Let us be thankful that they are not hunting us, for they use poisoned arrows, it is said, and they are woodcrafty beyond compare. But they have offered their services to Theoden. Even now one of their headmen is being taken to the king. Yonder go the lights. So much I have heard, but no more. And now I must busy myself with my lord's commands. Pack yourself up, Master Bag." He vanished into the shadows. Master Bag.
I love that Master Bag.
I know, I do too. It's like a little wink, It's like, good stuff, Elfhelm.
Wonderful stuff. And I got to tell you, I have really come to enjoy this season.
Yeah.
More than I even thought. I mean,
yeah, me too.
I mean, so much stuff has happened this season, but man, I am really looking forward to the next one. It's like Book 5 really is just, I don't know. There's nothing like it.
Spectacular. It's the highlight. It's my favorite book of the 6. Like you, I ended up enjoying the season a lot more than I thought in terms of the text. We got to really explore passages that, if I'm being honest, even on my multiple reads, there were things that I didn't really catch because this was sort of a dreary, less action-oriented part of the story. And I enjoyed Book 3 so much.
Yeah.
But yeah, now that we've been doing it properly, wow, there's a lot here, and it's been really good.
There is a lot there to catch, and it's a lot of just really meditative and philosophical stuff.
Exactly. It's more thematic. Well, no matter which one we like the most, and really, what are we supposed to do? Pick our favorite child? I mean, it doesn't work that way.
I know, right? Seriously.
But whichever one, it's time to go ahead and get back into Book 4, since that's where we're at. So, Sean, would you do us the honor of starting off the last chapter of the season?
I shall. Frodo was lying face upward on the ground, and the monster was bending over him, so intent upon her victim that she took no heed of Sam and his cries until he was close at hand. As he rushed up, he saw that Frodo was already bound in cords, wound about him from ankle to shoulder, and the monster with her great forelegs was beginning half to lift, half to drag his body away. On the near side of him lay, gleaming on the ground, his elven-blade, where it had fallen useless from his grasp. Sam did not wait to wonder what was to be done, or whether he was brave or loyal or filled with rage. He sprang forward with a yell and seized his master's sword in his left hand. Then he charged. No onslaught more fierce was ever seen in the savage world of beasts, where some desperate small creature armed with little teeth, alone, will spring upon a tower of horn and hide that stands above its fallen mate. Disturbed, as if out of some gloating dream, by his small yell, she turned slowly the dreadful malice of her glance upon him. But almost before she was aware that a fury was upon her, greater than any she had known in countless years, the shining sword bit upon her foot and shore away the claw. Sam sprang inside the arches of her legs, and with a quick upthrust of his other hand stabbed at the clustered eyes upon her lowered head. One great eye went dark. Now the miserable creature was right under her, for the moment out of the reach of her sting and of her claws. Her vast belly was above him with its putrid light, and the stench of it almost smote him down. Still his fury held for one more blow, and before she could sink upon him, smothering him in all his little impudence of courage, he slashed the bright elven blade across her with desperate strength.
Wow. All right.
Well, we are right in the action here, aren't we?
We are right in the thick of it. I mean, remember, we last left off when Sam had fended off Gollum's attack.
He just fought off Gollum with the wrestling move, that's right.
Yeah. So now here he is, having it, this big, gigantic spider.
Yep.
You know, we pick up with Sam charging towards Shelob, who's wrapping up Frodo. And yeah, he had, of course, followed Gollum all the way back to Shelob's lair before recalling his danger. So he did have to run a little bit to come back to this spot.
That's right. He had a ways to come back, and that's why she's had time to do all this.
Yeah.
And as he approaches, Shelob seems completely unaware of Sam until he gets close, really. She's so focused on Frodo. And I think this is really interesting because, you know, despite some of the stuff we said last time about her being like an apex predator and things like that,
right?
She's not just a predatory animal, right? We've talked about this. She's not just a spider. She's a creature in spider form. She's got intelligence, and she is angry.
Oh, yeah.
She has chased down Frodo after he drove her off in her own cave.
Yeah.
And she's got a score to settle with him.
She sure does.
Especially now that he doesn't have the vial, she's actually got an opportunity to do it.
That's right. Of course, he's a bit tied up at the moment, wound from ankle to shoulder. And Shelob is dragging him, or half dragging, half lifting him away, right? Using her legs to kind of move his little body around.
That's right. And Sam spots Sting on the ground.
Yep.
Walking in fields of gold.
I was wondering where you're going to go with that.
No, he spots the sword Sting on the ground where Frodo had dropped it, and he acts immediately.
That's right.
This is like act first, think later, right?
Exactly. I mean, the text tells us that, not using these exact words, that this was an instinctual and not necessarily rational action on Sam's part.
No, that's true. I mean, I guess we'll see whether it ends up being a good decision or a bad decision. But I mean, really, it wasn't a decision at all. He didn't wait to make a decision. He didn't.
He did not
wait to see if he was being brave or loyal or angry. He just did it.
Yeah.
No hesitation. Mm-hmm. This is like survival mode. He's putting his life on the line to protect Frodo.
Absolutely. We read that he yelled and grabbed the sword Sting and then charged. Now, I admit I might have yelled after getting the sword, but that's not the point, I guess.
Well, you know.
Eminently practical. Yeah.
Yeah. Like you said, he's acting on instinct.
Exactly. Pure instinct.
He's not thinking about tactics or anything like that. He's just he's just fighting.
Full-blown rage. Yeah.
That's a good point. Yeah. Full-blown rage. And I mean, this is Frodo. This is his friend. This is his master.
Absolutely.
And we get this really powerful parallel drawn in the text to how a small animal might respond to a predator attacking its mate.
That's right.
And this is a powerful passage for a lot of reasons. In fact, this particular passage I've seen pointed to a lot by readers and scholars who've engaged in queer reading of Tolkien's work. Mm-hmm. And they'll point to this as evidence that Frodo and Sam's relationship was not just platonic, but had romantic undertones, or not just undertones. Sometimes they'll say it was just a flat out romantic relationship. And it's this language about a fallen mate, you know, likening Frodo's and Sam's relationship to animal mates.
Right.
Personally, I just have to say, I mean, I love the fact that Tolkien's work lends itself to these different interpretations. I'm really glad that LGBTQ readers, or at least some of them out there, have found some applicability to their lives in this section.
We have heard from some readers in our community, some LGBTQ readers in our community who have found encouragement in this passage during difficult times in their lives. And, whether or not I agree with that particular reading, we can talk about that at some other point. But even if I disagree with that in terms of the reading, I'm pleased to know that they found some encouragement there. That's uplifting.
Yeah, that to me is the beauty of Tolkien's work, is that you can find different readings in it. And look, folks, I think I speak for both of us. We're not here to debate queer readings.
No.
For me personally, I'm a cis hetero man. This is not something that I've studied at all. I am in no way equipped to talk about queer readings of this text, but
Fair.
I think it's worth acknowledging. And I think it's worth telling listeners who are interested in learning more about queer readings that there's a couple places where they can do that. Actually, I want to point people to a recent article in the April issue of Amon Hen, which is the bulletin of the Tolkien Society,
right,
by an author named Molly Ostertag. The article is called On Love, and it's a really nice newbie's introduction to queer readings of Lord of the Rings. There's a bit of personal recollection from the author's own experience in there, and I thought it was quite a nice read. And there's also a scholar named Christopher Vaccaro who's written a lot on this topic. He's co-edited a book called Tolkien and Alterity, which we'll have a link to in our library. And that's got some essays on this topic. It's not focused entirely on this topic, but it's got some essays on this topic. And I understand that he's got a new book focused entirely on the topic of queer readings that's coming out soon. So just a couple of resources out there for folks who are interested in learning more.
Thanks for sharing that. Let's go ahead and get back to the text. I think what we read here at this point is this is one of those against all odds sort of attack. Sam is putting everything aside. We get that parallel drawn to the animal protecting its mate. This is Han Solo never tell me the odds sort of thing, right?
Yeah. And then we actually see his yell from Shelob's perspective briefly.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
It was small and disturbed her.
I love that. It's so insignificant.
I know, this little tiny thing, right?
Does it even qualify as a rebel yell at that point?
Probably not. I don't think he's crying more and more and more.
I'm pretty sure he's not. And if she's the little dancer that came dancing to his door, that's pretty disturbing.
You know the lyrics of that song much better than I do. Wow. I bet Shelob's a heck of a dancer, actually, with all those legs.
I'm sure she is.
But anyway, at this point, she doesn't even see Sam as an actual threat. He's just an annoyance at this point.
Of course she doesn't see him as a threat. Who has ever been a threat to Shelob,
well,
right?
This is a good point, yeah.
She doesn't even perceive anybody as a threat, no.
Yeah. No, it's a good point. But Sam, he just leaps right into action, acts quickly, and does some real damage right away. He hacks off a claw, basically, before she even knows
I was going to say, he pretty much rolls a natural 20 with the first strike, doesn't he?
Pretty much. And then the second one's not far off that either. He stabs at her eyes and manages to hit one of her big ones.
Nice. That's gonna sting a little bit.
Absolutely.
And he does this from directly underneath her, which, let's be really, really clear, is a very unpleasant place to be.
Yeah.
The smell alone has almost knocked him down.
Yeah, remember, the last chapter we read that her belly was pale and luminous and gave forth a stench.
Oh.
So not only is it incredibly unpleasant to look at, but it's also pretty unpleasant to breathe in, too.
Yeah, it is. Oh.
But yeah, Sam's in a good position now. He's chopped off a claw. He's poked an eye out. She's definitely got disadvantage on her next attack roll. So
oh, for sure.
He slashes Sting across her belly with every bit of his fury and strength. And we'll have to wait a moment to find out what happens next.
Good job. I was waiting. I'm like, wait a minute. Are you going to go right into the next passage? All right. Well, before we get back to the discussion, folks, we want to make sure you know that when you finish listening to this episode, the talk continues all night long at the Prancing Pony Podcast.
That's right. Our amazing listener community keeps the conversation going in all of our social media spaces, from our common room on Facebook to our Reddit community, Twitter, and more.
On Facebook, just look for the Prancing Pony Podcast and be sure to follow the page, but also join the group for some great discussions.
And you can find us on Reddit at r/PrancingPonyPod, and we're also at Prancing Pony Pod on Twitter and Instagram.
That's right. And don't forget to check out our new podcast, The Rings of Power Wrap-Up, where we discuss, analyze, and speculate all about Amazon's television adaptation of J.R.R. Tolkien's Middle-earth.
That's right. We'll be taking deep dives into the lore behind the show. We'll be talking about our favorite themes and characters and a whole lot more. So look for the Rings of Power Wrap-Up and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. And check out our social media at Rings Wrap-Up for more.
And folks, if you enjoy the show, please consider supporting us by joining the Fellowship of the Podcast. When you do, you get a lot: an active Discord community, including live episode recordings, postscripts, episodes without digital ads, free merchandise, and a lot more.
A whole lot more, actually. You're going to get live Discord hangouts, a chance to be a part of our Questions After Nightfall episodes, or even join us as a guest in the North Wing. So check out patreon.com/prancingponypod to support the show and become part of the Fellowship of the Podcast.
Please remember that the support we get on Patreon is what enables us to each pour so much into the show. Also, you can help us out by giving us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts, or even a rating on Spotify as well. And please, as always, recommend us to your friends.
All right. Well, now we're going to find out what happens when Sam sweeps that elven-blade across Shelob's belly.
Yeah.
And it may not be what you're thinking.
Exactly. Spoiler, not much. Yeah.
Not a whole lot.
But Shelob was not as dragons are. No softer spot had she, save only her eyes. Knobbed and pitted with corruption was her age-old hide, but ever thickened from within with layer on layer of evil growth. The blade scored it with a dreadful gash, but those hideous folds could not be pierced by any strength of men, not though elf or dwarf should forge the steel, or the hand of Baron or of Turin wield it. She yielded to the stroke, and then heaved up the great bag of her belly high above Sam's head. Poison frothed and bubbled from the wound. Now, splaying her legs, she drove her huge bulk down on him again. Too soon, for Sam still stood upon his feet, and dropping his own sword, with both hands he held the elven blade point upwards, fending off that ghastly roof. And so Shelob, with the driving force of her own cruel will, with strength greater than any warrior's hand, thrust herself upon a bitter spike. Deep, deep it pricked, as Sam was crushed slowly to the ground. No such anguish had Shelob ever known or dreamed of knowing in all her long world of wickedness. Not the doughtiest soldier of old Gondor, nor the most savage orc entrapped, had ever thus endured her, or set blade to her beloved flesh. A shudder went through her. Heaving up again, wrenching away from the pain, she bent her writhing limbs beneath her and sprang backwards in a convulsive leap. Sam had fallen to his knees by Frodo's head, his senses reeling in the foul stench, his two hands still gripping the hilt of the sword. Through the mist before his eyes, he was aware dimly of Frodo's face, and stubbornly he fought to master himself and to drag himself out of the swoon that was upon him. Slowly he raised his head and saw her, only a few paces away, eyeing him, her beak drabbling a spittle of venom, and a green ooze trickling from below her wounded eye. There she crouched, her shuddering belly splayed upon the ground, the great bows of her legs quivering as she gathered herself for another spring. This time to crush and sting to death, no little bite of poison to still the struggling of her meat. This time to slay and then to rend. Ah!
All right.
Yikes! Okay, that's flat out terrifying right there. And that description is so disturbing. Whoa.
It is. It's one more disturbing description in a long line of disturbing descriptions in this section.
I'm kind of glad we're almost done with her, let's be frank. You know?
Yeah, for sure.
But let's go back to the beginning of that, right?
Let's do that. So Sam slashed up at the belly because, look,
yeah,
Sam's read his stories, right? He knows that lots of times the hero kills the monster by stabbing it in its belly. But we're told that Shelob's belly is no softer, no less impenetrable than the rest of her body.
Man.
Now, she's compared to dragons here for a reason, and that's because that's where Sam is getting this idea from, right?
Right.
Dragons, we know in Middle-earth lore, they have soft underbellies. Remember The Hobbit, where Bilbo notices Smaug's weak spot. He says, "Why, there is a large patch in the hollow of his left breast, as bare as a snail out of its shell."
That's right.
And I seem to recall he has a few conversations with Smaug about his soft underbelly. Smaug says things like, "Oh, your information is outdated," and stuff like that.
Exactly. And then when he shows it off, that's when Bilbo has this thought. He
Right.
sees it and thinks this to himself. And of course, Turin slew Glaurung all the way back in the First Age using the same weakness. Then he drew Gurthang, and with all the might of his arm and of his hate, he thrust it into the soft belly of the worm, even up to the hilts. But when Glaurung felt his death pang, he screamed, and in his dreadful throe, he heaved up his bulk and hurled himself across the chasm, and there lay lashing and coiling in his agony.
That's right.
Isn't it interesting, by the way, to hear the difference between the way Tolkien describes Bilbo's little interaction and Turin's? I mean, it's like such a different scale.
Bare as a snail out of its shell to, soft belly, lashing and coiling in his agony.
Death pang and dreadful throw. And it's great stuff, but wow, such a different style. Yeah.
Such a different register and tone to the narration.
Yeah.
And this soft underbelly thing, this was not something Tolkien invented. This is a trope in mythology too.
That's right.
From the dragon Fafnir in the legend of Sigurd or Siegfried, to the dragon in Beowulf and all sorts of other dragons in mythology. Soft, vulnerable underbellies is usually their weak spot.
Yeah. And it makes sense. I mean, if a dragon is modeled after real life lizards or real life reptiles, I'm thinking of alligators and crocodiles, for instance, their underbellies are a lot softer than their backs,
I will take your word for that one. But yeah.
Well, I just study a little zoology. It's not like I have a close personal connection with alligators.
I've never wrestled an alligator, sir, despite being from Louisiana.
I was going to say, you've lived in Louisiana. I'm sure you've gotten much closer to one than I have. Anyway. So, but Shelob, of course, is not a dragon, and she's also not a spider. Let's remember that she's an evil thing in spider form. So the text tells us that her eyes are her only soft spot. And maybe her heart, too.
Aw.
No, probably not.
Probably not, no.
Even her belly is covered in layers of corrupted hide.
Ugh.
Oh, so it's not like she's been doing abs, and so her belly is like firm and tight. No, it's just covered in layers of evil.
No, this is just like diseased growth that's just
Exactly.
like grown over like layer upon layer. Ugh.
Like the bark of a tree,
Yeah.
It's just, how you can tell how old she is by cutting her hide and seeing how many rings there are.
Like some disgusting exoskeleton.
Ugh, absolutely just
Yeah.
vile and disturbing. So while Sam's blade did cause a gash, we're told that no blade could actually pierce her using the strength of men. And there's your key. Even an elvish or dwarvish blade wielded by the mightiest men like Turin or Beren would not pierce her.
Well, and that's a very relevant reference to bring up here.
Yeah,
right?
it is.
Because we know that Turin slew Glaurung using Gurthang, which was the sword formerly known as Anglachel, which had not only been made from this amazing meteoric ore,
Right.
but it was smithed by Eol, who was an elven smith who was basically trained by dwarves.
Yeah.
Even that would not kill Shelob.
No, even wielded by Turin himself wouldn't do
Right.
it. But this sort of spider-like pride goeth before the fall, or the big stabby ouchie thing in this case.
Yeah, for sure, because it's about to go very badly for Shelob here.
It is. Yeah.
She lifts her belly up to smother Sam once and for all
That's right.
and drops her weight smack directly onto Sting as Sam holds it up to ward off her belly.
I love the way the text describes this. It is her own cruel will, the strength of her cruel will that causes her injury.
That's it.
And
That's the only strength that could do it.
that's right. There's nobody else could have done this harm to her. And speaking of harm, this is well beyond anything she'd ever experienced in her thousands of years of life. Not only a greater pain than she'd experienced, but a greater pain than she'd ever considered or imagined or thought she might experience.
That's right. In all her long world of wickedness. Wow.
What
Never
a
even
phrase
dreamed
that
of it.
is.
That is a great phrase. Yeah. So feeling this unbearable pain she
yeah.
never imagined, she shudders. She heaves up her weight. She springs backward away from Sam. Obviously, I mean, this is a very animal thing. Let's get away from the threat.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam has now dropped to his knees by Frodo. He's still holding Sting because, you better still be holding Sting.
Yeah.
And I mean, he can hardly see. I mean, he's nearly overcome by the stench.
Oh, I'm sure.
I mean, he's like passing out from the stink.
Exactly. Now he can make out Frodo's face, and that sort of motivates him to kind of shake himself out of this, as the text calls it, this swoon that was upon him.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when he sees Shelob just a few steps away. She's got her eye on him. And boy, that is bad news, because he can see her gathering herself to pounce again. And this time, this isn't about poisoning him so that she can, enjoy the meat later. This is just kill him now and rip him to shreds, rend him.
Yeah, this has gone beyond that kind of predatory, cat-like, play with your prey kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's gone beyond, like you said, poison him, slow him down, enjoy him later. This is anger, and she is ready to kill.
Absolute fury, no doubt about it.
Kill and tear apart, right? Slay and then to rend.
To just rip to shreds. Absolutely. Oh. Well, I'm going to have you pick up exactly there. And we are eventually going to skip some words in this chapter. It's just these aren't them.
Soon enough. Even as Sam himself crouched, looking at her, seeing his death in her eyes, a thought came to him, as if some remote voice had spoken. And he fumbled in his breast with his left hand and found what he sought. Cold and hard and solid it seemed to his touch in a phantom world of horror. The Phial of Galadriel. "Galadriel," he said faintly. And then he heard voices, far off but clear. The crying of the elves as they walked under stars in the beloved shadows of the Shire, and the music of the elves as it came through his sleep in the Hall of Fire in the House of Elrond. "Gilthoniel a Elbereth." And then his tongue was loosed, and his voice cried in a language which he did not know. "A Elbereth Gilthoniel o Menel Palandiriel, Lenalon Sid in Guruthos, a Tironin Fanuelos." And with that, he staggered to his feet, and was Samwise the Hobbit, Hamfast's son, again. "Now, come, you filth," he cried. "You've hurt my master, you brute, and you'll pay for it. We're going on, but we'll settle with you first. Come on, and taste it again." As if his indomitable spirit had set its potency in motion, the glass blazed suddenly like a white torch in his hand. It flamed like a star that, leaping from the firmament, sears the dark air with intolerable light. No such terror out of heaven had ever burned in Shelob's face before. The beams of it entered into her wounded head, and scored it with unbearable pain, and the dreadful infection of light spread from eye to eye. She fell back, beating the air with her forelegs, her sight blasted by inner lightnings, her mind in agony.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man. All right, let's go back to the beginning of this, because there's going to be, as we say, a lot to unpack here. So Sam knows that he's looking at his own imminent death. He sees the hatred in Shelob's remaining eyes and knows that his time on this earth is very, very limited.
Yeah, it's coming for him.
Yeah, he knows. But then he has this thought, and it seems like a voice speaking to him, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. And this is a moment of inspiration. We're going to see.
Yeah, it is.
A continued, I was going to say several moments of inspiration. It's really one long moment of inspiration here for Sam.
That's true.
As first he reaches for the one real thing, the one solid physical thing that he can hold on to in this phantom world of horror he's in.
Yeah.
And that's the vial.
That's right.
And then he calls out Galadriel's name.
Mm-hmm.
And this, first of all, triggers vivid memories. I don't even know if these are actually memories or if this is something else. It almost seems like it could be something else.
Almost like a vision. Yeah.
It does almost seem like it could be a vision. I mean, I guess it could just be memories.
Maybe, but they're certainly very clear, right?
Vivid.
I mean, he actually hears the elves walking under the stars in the Shire.
That's
He's
right.
reliving that moment with Gildor.
That's it. He's not just remembering it. He's actually hearing it.
Right.
So that seems very much more than just memory.
Maybe it's more like an elvish memory. You know, we've talked about their memory is different. Their dreams are different.
Oh, could be.
That could be. That would be an interesting bit.
That very well could be.
He even hears elvish music from the Hall of Fire in Rivendell. So these are things from the past. So it does make me think memory, but yeah, now that I'm thinking about it.
But like you said, maybe elvish memory is the way to describe it. Maybe this is an elf friend trait or ability. I don't know.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I that just kind of came to me as we were discussing this now, but you know, we have talked before about how elvish memory is different. I remember Legolas talking about that with Gimli as they were leaving Lorien, remember?
Yeah. No, I think that actually could be it. Maybe this is something that, you know, as he's an elf friend now, maybe he has the ability to do this. Or,
yeah.
I mean, obviously it's not something he can do on command. It's happening to him, but
right. That's true.
Still, it is happening.
Wow.
So now he cries out in Elvish.
Yeah.
We're told in a moment that this is a language he didn't even know. So this is another inspiration moment.
Mm-hmm.
Gilthoniel a Elbereth.
That's right.
Is what he says. But not if you have a first edition of Lord of the Rings.
That's right.
Because in the first edition, it was actually Gilthoniel o Elbereth.
That's right. And that kind of comes from what we remember earlier with the hymn, O Elbereth Gilthoniel, when we read that poem earlier. But the O Elbereth Gilthoniel version is in the Westron. And that's why it's supposed to be So I'm going to go back to letter 211, which we've talked about lately a number of times. That's the letter that Tolkien wrote to Rona Bear. And in that letter, he explains the use of O in this invocation is an error. Mine, in fact, taken over from earlier, where Gilthoniel o Elbereth is, of course, a quotation of the hymn in Book 1, which is a translation. English in all but proper names. Sam's invocation is, however, in pure Elvish and should have had an ah.
That one pesky little vowel.
I know.
But, Tolkien's attention to detail.
I know. Isn't it amazing?
None of us would have ever known if he had not caught it and fixed it for us.
Of course not.
So, yep. So here he is. Sam is speaking in a language he doesn't know.
Yep.
He's saying something, but, well, what is he saying? Well, we're going to tell you, folks. Don't worry.
Yes, we will.
So, first of all, it's worth pointing out that the language used here is Sindarin.
Right.
This is a different language from Frodo's cry in Shelob's Lair, which was Aya Erendil Elenion and Kalima.
Right.
That, of course, is in Quenya.
That's exactly right. So going back to letter 211, Tolkien is kind enough to give us an explanation and translation. He says, it means more or less, O Elbereth star kindler, from heaven gazing afar, to thee I cry now in the shadow of the fear of death. O look towards me, ever white. But he gives us a bit more than that, too. First, he explains Star Kindler is, quote, in the past tense. The title belongs to mythical prehistory and does not refer to a permanent function. In other words, she's not currently kindling stars.
She's the one who kindled the stars. Yeah.
That's right. She's the one who kindled them in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That makes sense. And then he goes on to point out that Everwhite is an inadequate translation. He says the element ui, which corresponds to primitive Elvish oyo, as in oyolase,
right,
means ever. And then he goes on to say that both fan and los convey white, but fan connotes the whiteness of clouds and the sun. Los refers to snow.
That's right. He follows that up by explaining that Amon Uilos, in High Elven Oyolose, was one of the names of the highest peak of the mountains of Valinor, upon which Manwë and Varda dwelt. So that an elf using or hearing the name Fanuilos would not think of or picture only a majestic figure robed in white, standing in a high place and gazing eastward to mortal lands. He would at the same time picture an immense peak, snow-capped, crowned with a piercing or dazzling white cloud.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, that's the beauty of language, right? And, the multiple meanings that a single word can have.
Yeah.
That's really lovely. And, there's actually quite a lot more on Fanuilos and the Fan root in general in, Parmel de Lambron 17. Remember, we talked about this, I think, back in chapter 3 of book 1, right? 3 is Company. We talked about how Fan also gave us the word for the raiment of the Valar and Maiar, right? Fana, plural Fanar.
Right.
But there's one place in Parmel de Lambron 17 that I really like because Tolkien actually glosses the name Fanuilos similarly to what he said in the letter that you just quoted, Alan.
Mm-hmm.
He had said that Everwhite is inadequate. Here, he goes really overboard in adequacy of the translation. He says, Fanuilos was thus a title of, or second name for Elbereth, made after the coming of the exiles, and conveyed in full some such meaning as bright angelic figure far away upon Ualos, meaning Oyolase.
Right.
So there you're getting that idea of that majestic figure robed in white, bright angelic figure standing in this high place. It's really lovely. And
it is.
I love that in Tolkien's mind, that's all part of the definition.
It's all part
It's
of
almost
it.
like an entish level of meaning here. There's like a whole story in that word.
Yeah, it conveys a lot more than what you might think, right? I'm just glad he didn't use Taniquetil, because then I would have had to try to say it.
I am too. But you're getting so much better at pronouncing it, though.
That was 5 years ago.
You haven't mispronounced it once for years now.
Well, I've had it beaten into me. So
except on purpose.
Well, sure. I mean, we all like the Aztec version.
Of course, Taniquetil. Yeah. So anyway, back to the text. Clearly, we are getting another of those moments of inspiration, of someone speaking through another person.
Yeah.
Of course, we've seen tons of these before. We've talked about them every time we've gotten them.
Right.
Most recently with Frodo, right?
That's right.
With the vial.
Absolutely. I wonder who's speaking through him to invoke the name of Elbereth, right? We have a question coming up in the bag next episode, so I don't want to go too deep into this. But is this Varda herself inspiring Sam to call to her? Or is this maybe Galadriel speaking through the vial and through Sam to call out to Varda? I don't know. It's a good question.
It does seem like it would be odd if it's Varda making him call out to her.
Yeah, that would be a little weird, wouldn't it? Yeah.
It is a little weird. Here, I'm going to speak through you and call upon myself.
In fact, I'm going to make you call to me.
Right. Yeah. I'm not saying it's not happening.
No.
I like the idea that it's Galadriel maybe, and
I
somehow
do too.
the file kind of establishes a connection. But like you said, we'll get to this in the next episode.
We will. Well, this moment of somebody speaking through him doesn't last long, right? He gets up and the text says that he is Samwise the Hobbit, Hamfast's son again. I love that.
Yes, I love that because it reminds me of one of my favorite moments in the last chapter.
Yeah.
Remember when Frodo had a similar moment when, he had just had this great face-off against Shelob. He's standing up to her like nobody else has.
Right.
And then suddenly that moment breaks and then we're just told, then holding the star aloft and the bright sword advanced, Frodo, Hobbit of the Shire, walked steadily down to meet the eyes.
I love that. Frodo, Hobbit of the Shire.
Yeah.
Both of these phrases are reminders of the ordinariness of both Frodo and Sam as they individually face off against Shelob, right? This evil thing in spider form, last child of Ungoliant, ancient beyond reckoning, Frodo, Hobbit of the Shire, Samwise the Hobbit, Hamfast's son.
Yeah.
I love that.
Exactly right.
Such a contrast.
They are so ordinary and they are the last people who you'd think should be fighting this creature of ultimate evil.
Right.
But they're going to make her suffer. That's for sure. Yeah.
They're doing it. It's the ordinary doing the extraordinary.
Yeah, that's right.
I love the way Tolkien calls to that.
And isn't that such an ever-present theme in Tolkien?
It is, really. Yeah. It's absolutely an ever-present theme in Tolkien. No doubt about it.
Yeah. So then Frodo tells Shelob, bring it on.
Oh, I know, man.
Come at me, bro.
Come on.
I mean, he's been angry.
Oh, yeah.
He's just getting angrier, I think. I mean, she has hurt Frodo. And he tells her, I am going to make you pay for hurting Frodo. We're going to settle with you first.
Wow. I love that.
That is bold.
That is really bold. I mean, we have to get going and everything, but first, I'm going to settle with you. I did like the fact that he says, we'll settle. But what do you make of that with Frodo not really able to participate in the settling?
I think he doesn't think Frodo is dead yet. So I think it's just, hey, we're going on, but first we're going to deal with you. I think he's letting Frodo participate in it, even though he's down. Maybe he's acknowledging the part Frodo's played already. I don't know.
Maybe.
I like it, though, because it speaks to that kind of spirit of teamwork, that spirit of unity that he has with Frodo right now.
Yeah, it does.
Again, we've seen the vial respond to the emotions of the person holding it before, and that happens again here.
Yeah.
This fire that we see in Sam, this rage, this anger, it kind of makes the fire in the vial blaze even more powerfully.
Oh, it does.
And then we're told it's like a star jumping out of the heavens.
Oh, what a scene that is, right? I mean, what a parallel, right?
Yeah.
Leaping from the firmament, searing the dark air with intolerable light. I love the way he phrases that.
That is beautiful. That is
really
absolutely beautiful. And, we're kind of given this image of almost like a shooting star.
Yeah. Leaping from the firmament. Absolutely. It's like a shooting star. Yeah.
And again, this is nothing like Shelob has ever seen before.
Nothing at all. Right.
This is a new experience for her.
Totally new experience and not one she'd like to repeat.
Not at all.
Not only is she experiencing this incredible pain from the stab wound that she caused herself, she's now experiencing unbearable pain from the light. And the light is said to be spreading like an infection, the dreadful infection of light. So she backs away. She's smacking at the air with her legs. She's described as being in agony. And then she begins to crawl back towards her hole.
She thinks she's getting away, but Sam is not having it. At least he's not letting her go that easily.
No.
He intends to make her pay. He comes towards her. He's reeling like a drunken man, which is a very interesting description.
Isn't it? Yeah.
Do you think this is rage getting the better of him? Is he kind of like, losing his senses a little bit here? Or is this the stink? I think it's the stench.
I think it's a little bit of both. Anger is certainly getting a better part of him, but he wouldn't be reeling if it weren't for the stench.
That's just it. Yeah, maybe he's kind of like just full of rage, and that's why he's just like swinging blindly like a drunken man.
Yeah, he's kind of out of control at this point.
Yeah, but he's definitely staggering, reeling from this vile smell.
Nasty stench, right?
And Shelob hurries away. She's defeated, but she gets away. She slips into her hole.
She does.
Sam gets one last little parting shot, one last little swipe at her back legs.
Yeah.
And then he falls.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
And that's where we're going to jump back into the reading, and you're going to pick up right there.
Okay. Shelob was gone, and whether she lay long in her lair, nursing her malice and her misery, and in slow years of darkness healed herself from within, rebuilding her clustered eyes, until with hunger like death she spun once more her dreadful snares in the glens of the mountains of shadow, this tale does not tell. Sam was left alone. Wearily, as the evening of the nameless land fell upon the place of battle, he crawled back to his master. Master! Dear master! He said, but Frodo did not speak. As he had run forward, eager, rejoicing to be free, Shelob, with hideous speed, had come behind him and with one swift stroke had stung him in the neck. He lay now pale and heard no voice and did not move. Master! Dear master! Said Sam, and through a long silence waited, listening in vain. Then, as quickly as he could, he cut away the binding cords and laid his head upon Frodo's breast and to his mouth, but no stir of life could he find, nor feel the faintest flutter of the heart. Often he chafed his master's hands and feet and touched his brow, but all were cold. Frodo! Mr. Frodo! He called. Don't leave me here alone. It's your Sam calling. Don't go or I can't follow. Wake up, Mr. Frodo. Oh, wake up, Frodo, me dear, me dear. Wake up.
Wow.
Oh, man. Oh, Sam. My heart.
Yeah, I know. And it's just going to get more and more of that as this goes on.
It really is.
So this section opens by acknowledging that this is all we're going to get. We're not going to get to know Shelob's fate.
No.
It's going to be a bit like Ungoliant, right?
Yes, I was thinking the same exact thing. Yeah.
We get a suggestion of what happens. The text strongly suggests that she took a long time to nurse her malice and her misery, probably is going to heal herself, regenerate her eyes somehow, and then go back to doing her evil, right? Go back to spinning her snares in the Ephel-Duath.
I love that. It's not a some may say. It's more like, well, here's this possible scenario. Mm-hmm. Whether she does this or not, this tale does not tell.
But still strongly suggested, because that's what it tells us. Yeah, because it's got a lot of detail.
Like, here's a lot of detail about what she might do.
Right.
And she probably has the capability of doing these things. Yeah.
Right. And I guess it makes sense that we're not going to get a definitive answer to this, because this is not an omniscient narrator we're dealing with. We're dealing with, the hobbits themselves narrating this story. And so they're not going to know what happened to her, because thankfully they're not going to encounter her again.
No. And short of somebody within the first, 20, 30 years after all these stories have been written down, short of somebody going up there and finding that Shelob is alive and has healed herself, who's going to be able to convey that information to any of the narrators?
And who's going to go looking, honestly?
Exactly. Who's going to want to go?
Yeah.
Anborn. Send Anborn.
I'll go, boss. It's a squirrel, right?
It's just a squirrel.
It's just a big squirrel.
So, poor Anborn.
We'll leave him alone after this season.
Will.
I'm sure we won't be making fun of him next season.
I doubt there'll be opportunity, or we probably would.
Yeah.
So Sam is alone and crawls back to Frodo. And the text says, this is interesting, as the evening of the nameless land fell, but we know this is morning. Hammond and Skull tell us that this is another vestige of the earlier chronology. So we see a few of those things poking in here and there, and this is another one of those moments.
Yeah.
By the way, a reminder, the nameless land is Mordor. It has a name.
Right.
It's not actually nameless. Right.
We talked about that before, but it's worth pointing out. Yeah. So yeah, Sam tries to wake Frodo up, but
nothing.
Obviously to no avail. We get a brief flashback to see what happened to Frodo, right? As he was running forward. Remember, he was in that fey mood. He wasn't paying attention to what he was doing.
Heading towards the pass, right.
Heedless of the danger, thinking he was out of it. And Shelob came from behind. Mm-hmm. She stung him in the neck.
And that's another difference between Shelob and real spiders. Spiders don't have stingers. They poison their victims with a bite, not a sting.
That's right. Yeah. Another reminder that she is not just a giant spider, but something different. Yeah.
That's right. She's just an evil creature in spider form. Yeah.
And then we're done with the flashback and we get what Frodo is looking like now. We're told that he's pale.
Yeah.
That he's unresponsive. He's not moving.
Right.
And Sam tries again just to get any kind of response.
Anything.
Waiting, listening, anything at all.
Right. He cuts away the webs, and then he's checking for Frodo's vitals, isn't he? I mean, he's checking for his heart rate, checking for his respiration, and there isn't any.
Right.
And even his hands, feet, and brow are cold. But
maybe
you could tell us a little bit about this word chafed, huh?
Yeah, I had to look this up. I mean, to me, like, chafing is not a good thing, right?
No. I mean, if I have chafing, it's really irritating and annoying and painful.
Yeah. This refers to, a painful, like a rubbing or something on your skin.
Yeah.
But this is actually the earlier meaning of this word. It actually originally meant something like to rub with the hand to restore warmth or sensation. Actually, I say that's the original meaning. The original meaning was actually just something like to warm.
Oh, okay.
But the usage here obviously is, actually rubbing his hands, rubbing his feet to warm them.
Okay.
This is an interesting word. It actually comes from French. It's a French word chauffer, which ultimately comes from Latin calefacere, which basically just means to make warm.
Okay.
And the original sense, I don't know why I didn't catch this until after I looked it up, but the original sense of chafe, meaning to warm something, is actually still preserved in the term chafing dish.
Oh, yeah.
You might go to a buffet or a banquet. You might see a metal dish with a sterno can underneath it, that can full of fuel. That's called a chafing dish because it's basically a warming dish.
Oh, good catch.
So that's what this means, is he's just rubbing them to make them warm.
Right. And yet to no avail because they're still cold.
And yet to no avail. And this is, obviously Sam is feeling anguish at this.
Yeah.
He cries out some more. Really seems like I don't know that he's getting into despair, but he sure is close. I mean,
he's getting close, and we're going to see despair come pretty soon. Yeah.
That's right. We are. Yeah. So this is this is getting really close. Don't leave me alone. Don't go where I can't follow.
Oh, my heart.
And first of all, he's even just skipping the mister, right? He's just, Frodo, wake up, Frodo, me dear, me dear.
That's right. Now, we're from the U.S., so we're not used to hearing people use the phrase me dear or my dear. But apparently in England, it is an informal way to address somebody, even somebody you don't know particularly well. It can also be used regardless of gender. So it's not a particularly gender-based term of affection or a romantic term of affection, apparently. It's just
interesting,
a thing that people would call others. In our research, and please, those of you in the UK, please help me out, it does seem like it's an old-fashioned form of address, but one that would have been more common back in Tolkien's day.
So maybe not something people are saying these days, but...
Well, you know how like if you were in England, somebody might call you love?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you've never met them before?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing.
No, that makes sense.
At least historically, that appears to be the case. It's just not in common usage much today.
Right.
In that context.
That's a good catch. Thank you for that.
Oh, no problem. It was such an interesting little phrase and repeated as well. So I thought I'd look into that. But I'm going to go and have you pick up exactly where I left off. This is really heartbreaking stuff, this despair and determination that we're going to run into here.
Yeah. Then anger surged over him, and he ran about his master's body in a rage, stabbing the air and smiting the stones and shouting challenges. Presently he came back, and bending looked at Frodo's face, pale beneath him in the dusk. And suddenly he saw that he was in the picture that was revealed to him, in the mirror of Galadriel and Lorien, Frodo with a pale face lying fast asleep under a great dark cliff. Or fast asleep he had thought then. "He's dead," he said. "Not asleep. Dead." And as he said it, as if the words had set the venom to its work again, it seemed to him that the hue of the face grew livid green. And then black despair came down on him, and Sam bowed to the ground and drew his gray hood over his head, and night came into his heart, and he knew no more. When at last the blackness passed, Sam looked up, and shadows were about him. But for how many minutes or hours the world had gone dragging on, he could not tell. He was still in the same place, and still his master lay beside him, dead. The mountains had not crumbled, nor the earth fallen into ruin. "What shall I do? What shall I do?" he said. "Did I come all this way with him for nothing?" And then he remembered his own voice speaking words that at the time he did not understand himself, at the beginning of their journey. "I have something to do before the end. I must see it through, sir, if you understand."
Wow. That is such a beautiful, heartbreaking passage.
It is.
Did I come all this way with him for nothing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's that despair setting in, but we'll get there.
Yeah, let's go back to the beginning of that passage. Have you ever been so angry you just punch the wall and yell at the world? I mean...
Oh, yeah. Yes, I have.
That's what Sam is doing here, and I think we can all identify. He's stabbing the air, smiting the stones. It's really one of the early stages of grief, right after denial, so it's not really a surprise to see it here, is it?
It's not, and I will admit I've been this angry over much smaller things than this.
Well, yeah, than losing your best friend to a giant spider.
Yeah. I've only lost a couple of best friends to giant spiders, and I was pretty upset.
Oh my gosh,
for sure.
For a minute, I thought I was going to have to take something really serious, and then all of a sudden you said the giant spiders.
Of course not. You should know me better than that. Come on. Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is not
Yeah.
a surprise to see that here. And yeah, this is grief setting in. And
Absolutely.
as his rage passes, he goes back to Frodo's side, and then suddenly he remembers the vision that he had in the Mirror of Galadriel.
Wow.
And we're told in that chapter, but before Sam could make up his mind what it was that he saw, the light faded, and now he thought he saw Frodo with a pale face lying fast asleep under a great dark cliff.
Wow. And then to preview what's next from that same vision, then he seemed to see himself going along a dim passage and climbing an endless, winding stair. It came to him suddenly that he was looking urgently for something, but what it was, he did not know. And you'll actually have to wait a while for some of that.
Yeah.
Because that won't come until the beginning of the season after next.
The following season. Yeah, the one after next. Yeah. So he remembers this vision, and then seeing what he sees before him, he comes to the absolutely heartbreaking conclusion
I know.
that what he had originally thought was Frodo asleep was actually an image of Frodo dead.
That's right.
And then we get this incredibly disturbing image of Sam's own realization of this.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost as if it's triggering the venom. So as he realizes that Frodo is dead, he thinks, that seems to trigger the venom, and then the look on Frodo's face changes, right? He's this livid green.
Ugh.
Remember, livid is sort of dark blue or dark green, right?
Right. That is troubling. And Tolkien actually mentions this exact moment, though, in a letter to Christopher. And this is letter number 89 in November of 1944. Now, in the letter, he talks at length about eucatastrophe and hope. But then he concludes by mentioning this passage nearly as an aside. He says, "And in the last chapter of The Ring that I have yet written, I hope you'll note when you receive it, it'll soon be on its way, that Frodo's face goes livid and convinces Sam that he's dead just when Sam gives up hope." And he italicized hope in the letter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this is really interesting because this is almost like, I'm not entirely sure what to call it, but it's almost like confirmation bias, where it's, you know, he's thinking Frodo's dead, and then his giving up hope that Frodo might still be alive kind of colors his perception.
Yeah.
Quite literally, right? Livid green. So that Frodo now looks deader than he did. You know, it's like if Sam hadn't had this thought and Sam hadn't given up hope, he probably wouldn't have seen Frodo's face the way he did, and he wouldn't have confirmed his own suspicion.
I see what you mean. So are you thinking then that there's actually no change in Frodo's face, or maybe it's just a coincidence that it happens at the same time? I mean, because that's kind of the way I'm going here, that the venom is taking effect and it happens at this moment as Sam gives up hope.
No, that could be it.
But Sam reads so much more into it.
I was taking it the other way. I was taking it as a perception only, because it said it seemed to him.
Could go either way.
But you're right. It does say as if the words had set the venom to its work. So that suggests that there is some cause other than his perception. I guess it could go either way.
Still, though, I think if he hadn't given up hope, maybe he views this differently.
That's the thing. I think if he had still had hope, he might have done something different. He might have assumed, well, maybe there's a chance that Frodo's just in a coma or something.
Well, if the venom is changing the way he looks, then there's something going on with his blood flow. I mean, at least
true.
Something's still happening in his body.
That's true. That's a very good point. Yeah. That is a very good point.
You know, it's working through his tissues, so there's some...
So he must be alive.
He must be at least somewhat alive.
His heart is pumping, maybe weakly, but, you know, coma or something, but...
Enough to move the venom through his body so that it actually changes the way he looks, yeah.
That's a very good point. So, yeah, if Sam had really stopped to think about what's going on here, he might have seen this differently, but he has. He has given up hope at this point.
But that sort of leads me to another question, right? We've talked about giving up hope. You know, we've talked about hope and despair and eucatastrophe over and over and over again, and we've sort of kind of moved around a little bit on it, right? We've introduced the new axis of determination, you know, we've talked about the detente of zero, not being hope, but not being despair, and all of this. Yeah. And I love how this is sort of a dynamic thing, and we're building it as we go. With hope and eucatastrophe, do you have to give up hope? Do you have to be at zero or less? Maybe not despair, but at least at zero before a eucatastrophe can take place, because by its very nature, a eucatastrophe is something that you cannot be hoping for.
That's an interesting question. I'm inclined to say no. I don't think you have to give up hope for a eucatastrophe to occur, because I don't think that in every case we see a eucatastrophe, I don't think we see characters completely without hope. I think it's just you can't hope for that to occur. You might have hope for something, but not that.
I think you're right. Yeah, you don't have to give up hope. It just seems that sometimes people do.
And maybe those are the most powerful ones, right?
But that's an encouragement too, because it means that even if you have given up hope, that doesn't mean a catastrophe can't happen.
Right. Yeah, I think that's a good point.
It doesn't forego the possibility of a catastrophe just because you no longer hope for one.
Right. Well, and it's, the fact that these catastrophes can happen, that's a reminder that, that we shouldn't give up hope. I mean, obviously we're going to sometimes.
Yes, that's true. That's exactly right.
But we shouldn't, because even the wisest cannot see all ends.
That's right. Despair is only for those who see the end beyond all doubt.
But sadly, Sam has given up hope here. And I think what makes this even sadder to me is that this black despair, we're told, it almost seems to come from outside, doesn't it?
It does.
It says it came down on him.
Well, it's the same kind of imagery with the night came into his heart. It is as though both the black despair and the night come onto or into him from outside before he passes out and loses consciousness. This is dark stuff. And you wonder if there's lingering effects of Shelob and maybe her power and stench, or if this is just something to do with Mordor or what. But man, it does seem like it's coming from the outside. It
does. And I don't know. I'm interested if folks think we're reading too much into that, but that's certainly what it
could
reads
well
like.
be. We do that sometimes.
We do. But I mean, that's certainly what it reads like.
It does. Yeah.
Came down on him. It doesn't say that, he was filled with despair. It doesn't say he felt despair. It came down on him. And maybe this is being poetic, but I don't know. I really do believe that there could be some external force here.
Yeah. I don't know what, but I agree that's certainly a possibility.
Certainly a number of things we can choose from as to what it might be.
I know, exactly. Tell her what's behind door number 3.
Right.
Yeah, no doubt about that. So he does pass out, though. He loses consciousness for quite a while, huh?
Yeah, time passes before he comes to again. He doesn't know how long. We're not told exactly how long, but we do know that Tolkien intended it to be a long time.
Right.
Hammond and Skull point out that in an earlier draft, back when their escape was meant to take place near the end of the day, he wrote, "Make Sam sit long by Frodo all through night."
That's right. Now, in this final version, we know that Frodo is stung by Shelob early in the morning, and then we know that it's late afternoon or evening when the orcs find his body. So Sam has been out for several hours, 6 to 8, maybe a little bit more, I would imagine.
That seems reasonable. Yeah.
Long time.
And this is beautiful and very, very sad. He seems shocked, frankly, that the world hasn't come to an end after Frodo's death, or what he believes to be Frodo's death.
That's
the
right.
mountains had not crumbled, nor the earth fallen into ruin. It's like he can't believe that the world still goes on, right?
Yeah, and that is a very real thing. I've experienced that. When a huge loss happens like this, it feels jarring, sort of disturbing that the world just keeps on moving. Bills are still due. You still have to go to work. You still have to eat. You still have to do things. The death of a close loved one makes you feel like the world ought to have the decency to just stop for a few days. If not end altogether, like Sam's thinking here. It is shocking that the world just keeps on going after something like this.
How can the world just keep on the way it was? Doesn't the world realize nothing's the same anymore? And yet, to everyone but the person feeling that grief and their loved ones, I mean, obviously it is just another day.
Yeah.
And the world does keep going. Yeah.
It does indeed. But then Sam asks the obvious question. What now? Right? What do I do? And did I come all this way with him for no good reason? And I love this because when he asks that question, he doesn't get somebody speaking in another language he doesn't understand. He doesn't get a third-party voice like we got with that invocation of Elbereth. He hears his own voice.
That's right, he does. He hears himself from the beginning of their journey. And this quote actually comes from A Shortcut to Mushrooms. And this is after Sam has seen Gildor and the elves in the Woody End. Frodo asks him if he still feels like he should leave the Shire, and Sam says, "Yes, sir. I don't know how to say it, but after last night I feel different. I seem to see ahead in a kind of way. I know we are going to take a very long road, into darkness, but I know I can't turn back. It isn't to see elves now, nor dragons, nor mountains that I want. I don't rightly know what I want, but I have something to do before the end, and it lies ahead, not in the Shire. I must see it through, sir, if you understand me."
I love that. Absolutely love that passage. And that determination to see it through, is all well and good, but what does it mean practically? And this is where we get into the part
Yeah.
that we didn't read, right? He can't leave Frodo here unburied and go home, can he?
No, he can't. So that means that, I have to go on.
Right.
But all that does is just drive home both the doubt and the fear, because
Right.
going on would mean leaving Frodo.
Exactly.
So he's no idea what to do, and he starts to weep.
Yeah.
And then all he does is he just starts to prepare Frodo as best he can. I guess, if he knows he can't give him a proper burial, at least he can kind of, dress the body somewhat, right?
Exactly. And it's really, again, I think with the stages of grief here, albeit in abbreviated form, I think we're getting to a level of acceptance. He composes the body, puts his hands on his chest, he wraps his cloak about him. Sam lays his sword by Frodo along with Frodo's staff. So Frodo has Sam's sword and his own staff. So then Sam lays his own sword by Frodo along with Frodo's staff, because of course Sam's staff was broken in that fight with Gollum.
That is correct. Yep.
Yeah.
So then he explains to Frodo what he's doing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Frodo can't hear him, but he makes himself feel better.
Or he can't respond. We assume he can't.
Well, that's true. But if he's actually dead, like Sam thinks, then obviously Frodo can't.
That's true. That's true. From Sam's perspective, he's just talking to a dead man.
He's making himself feel better with this. He feels like he needs to explain what he's doing and why. Maybe this is because he feels like he needs to say it out loud. Yeah. Maybe he really does feel like he needs to tell it to Frodo.
He could have even be thinking out loud to some extent, right?
Yeah, could be. Or he could be thinking that Frodo is watching him from somewhere and that he needs to explain it to him for that reason.
That's a good point.
But he explains that, look, I need to take Sting.
Yeah.
But I'll leave you this sword from the Barrow. There's a throwback for you.
Boy, that's been a while, hasn't it?
Yeah, by the old king in the Barrow. And he leaves Bilbo's coat. I think this is very interesting.
This is interesting, and we're going to talk a little bit more about it later, but let's ask now, why do you think Sam decided not to take this? This would be a really useful thing to have.
It would be an immensely useful thing to have. Two options. One, it doesn't fit.
That's a good point. Sam might be a little bigger in the belly than, say, Frodo.
Could be. But then again, that could just be, sort of the way he's been depicted in adaptations that's affecting me there.
That's true. Yeah, the film. Yeah.
It could simply be that he knows that Frodo was given that by Bilbo.
Yeah.
Then again, he was also given Sting by Bilbo. So, yeah.
Maybe it's just too difficult to get off under these circumstances.
Could be.
He'd have to do a lot of, I'm not going to say violence to Frodo's body, but he's going to have to move him around a lot.
Yeah.
Whereas he doesn't have to do that in order to take Sting.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's probably a good reason why.
Well, and as we'll see, it turns out being a very good thing that he does, right?
Absolutely. We will definitely talk about that in a little bit.
Yep.
And then he goes on to explain that he needs to take the vial and why.
Oh, this is heartbreaking.
It is, isn't it?
I'll be always in the dark now.
Oh, I just want to cry. Oh, poor Sam. Poor Sam.
Without Frodo, there's no light for him.
None. But none at all.
He can take the vial and at least have some actual physical light.
Right. Right. Of course, he still does the Sam thing in this moment as he puts himself down, right? It's too good for me. And the lady gave it to you, but maybe she'd understand. That is so Sam.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Maybe she'd understand, but he wants to know, do you understand, Mr. Frodo?
Yeah. Oh.
Do you understand that I've got to go on? I mean, he's seeking permission, perhaps a blessing from Frodo for his decision to go on, even though he never imagined that he would have to do this. But he recognizes, and I like the maturity, the sobriety here that Sam recognizes he has to do this.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that is going to bring us to a paragraph we're going to skip, and then we're going to get the last reading of this episode. But before we start this reading, folks, I do just want to give a quick trigger warning.
Yeah.
This next reading is going to include suicidal ideation. We'll give you folks a moment to skip ahead now, to just go ahead and skip ahead to when you hear my voice again.
Yep.
That'll let you know that Alan's done reading.
Should be just a few minutes.
Should just be a few minutes. And then when we get to the discussion of that part of the reading, we'll let you know again.
Yeah.
So, Alan, go ahead.
All right. Now he tried to find strength to tear himself away and go on a lonely journey for vengeance. If once he could go, his anger would bear him down all the roads of the world, pursuing until he had him at last. Gollum. Then Gollum would die in a corner. But that was not what he had set out to do. It would not be worthwhile to leave his master for that. It would not bring him back. Nothing would. They had better both be dead together, and that too would be a lonely journey. He looked on the bright point of the sword. He thought of the places behind where there was a black brink and an empty fall into nothingness. There was no escape that way. That was to do nothing, not even to grieve. That was not what he had set out to do. "What am I to do then?" he cried again. And now he seemed plainly to know the hard answer. See it through. Another lonely journey, and the worst. "What? Me alone go to the crack of doom and all?" He quailed still, but the resolve grew. "What? Me take the ring from him? The council gave it to him." But the answer came at once. "And the council gave him companions so that the errand should not fail, and you are the last of the company. The errand must not fail." "I wish I wasn't the last," he groaned. "I wish old Gandalf was here, or somebody. Why am I left all alone to make up my mind? I'm sure to go wrong. And it's not for me to go taking the ring, putting myself forward. But you haven't put yourself forward. You've been put forward. And as for not being the right and proper person, why, Mr. Frodo wasn't, as you might say, nor Mr. Bilbo. They didn't choose themselves. Oh, well, I must make up my own mind. I will make it up. But I'll be sure to go wrong. That'd be Sam Gamgee all over. Let me see now. If we're found here, or Mr. Frodo's found and that thing's on him, well, the enemy will get it. And that's the end of all of us, of Lorien and Rivendell and the Shire and all. And there's no time to lose, or it'll be the end anyway. The war's begun, and more than likely things are all going the enemy's way already. No chance to go back with it and get advice or permission. No, it's sit here till they come and kill me over Master's body and gets it, or take it and go." He drew a deep breath. "Then take it is."
All right.
Man, poor Sam, what a spot to be in, huh?
What a horrible spot to be in. I mean, he has resolved himself to go. He knows that he has to go. He knows that's the right thing to do, but he just can't quite do it yet.
No, he cannot.
He kneels by Frodo. He's holding his hand. This is all before you actually started reading.
True.
But then he starts holding this inner debate, doesn't he?
He absolutely does. And first, he considers vengeance, pursuing and killing Gollum.
But he thinks this through.
Yeah, he
you
does.
know, already Sam seems to be, I don't know, a bit more mature.
Yeah, thoughtful.
This is not the Sam who just moments ago left Frodo behind to go back and chase after Gollum. He thinks this through.
That's a good point.
And he realizes, pursuing and killing Gollum, this isn't what he set out to do.
No.
That is not what he needs to see through. And I want to point out, I just noticed this, that this phrase, that was not what he had set out to do, that's actually repeated a couple of times in this section.
It is. It's very important. Yeah.
It's almost as though he's kind of like running down the list of options and he's just using the same refrain to rule out these possibilities.
Is that what I set out to do?
That's right.
Well, then no.
Right, exactly. That would not be worth leaving Frodo for. That would not be worth abandoning the quest.
That's right. And it wouldn't bring Frodo back, importantly.
That's right. Well, now here's where I want to give our second trigger warning.
Yeah.
Here's where we're going to be discussing Sam's thoughts of suicide. So again, folks, please feel free to skip ahead now, and we will meet you in just a bit when we get to Sam considering taking the ring.
Yeah. So that thought about it not bringing Frodo back leads directly to the thought that better than vengeance, still thankfully not good, but better than vengeance, he thinks at the time would be both of them being dead. And this is when he begins to genuinely contemplate taking his own life. First, he's looking at the sharp point of the sword, but then he also considers maybe throwing himself off a cliff into the dark nothingness.
And you're right. He really does consider this. He really is thinking of this as an option, just like he considered vengeance against Gollum.
Yeah.
This is, it's such a dark place for him.
It really is. This is as dark as it gets for Sam, no doubt.
Yeah, it is. This is his bleakest moment. But again, he does see that there's no escape in this.
Right.
That's not going to do anything. That's not even to grieve, to get vengeance. That's just to do nothing.
That's right. It is absolutely nothing. And he then uses that same measuring stick we talked about. It is also not what he set out to do.
Yeah. So let's talk about this. I mean, we've talked about how Sam is the emotional core of the story.
Absolutely.
And he is. And we should expect him to be very emotional here at this moment.
Of course.
He's grieving for Frodo the way we are meant to grieve for Frodo. And yet, he's not being purely emotional here, is he?
No, he is being very logical, right? I mean, he's reasoning his way out of each of these two traps, right? Both the vengeance trap and the suicide trap. He's thinking his way through them and reaching logical conclusions, very different from what we might expect the highly emotional Sam to do.
Wow. Yeah. It's as though like the logical reasoning is the way out of this, right? Just,
Yeah.
stop and think before you do something like this.
And it's a pretty radical difference from what we just saw. You mentioned, of course, that, this isn't the same Sam who chased after Gollum, and it's not even the same Sam who stood up to Shelob and said, bring it on.
True.
He's not stabbing the air with his sword and smiting the rocks. This is not an out-of-control raging Sam. This is a really thoughtful Sam.
Yeah.
And I'm grateful, because if he were still that emotional, what might he do?
He would. He would make one of these two wrong choices. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh.
But you're right. He is together enough to at least think through how these are not really options at all.
I have to wonder, I know he heard his own voice, but I have to wonder if the memory of his own voice saying those words about what he set out to do, whether maybe those might have been planted there, right? Like some outside force might have reminded him of this thing that he said.
It's possible. It could be a little finger of Iluvatar kind of getting in there and, hey, if we got to give this guy something or else he's going to end his life.
Yeah.
And then the quest is definitely done for him.
Oh, the quest would definitely be over. Yeah.
Maybe so. I don't know. As much as I want to like that idea.
Right. I want to think that this is Sam on his own thinking that.
I agree. I want Sam to get there on his own. I agree. That's a cool idea, but I want it to be Sam himself who has this.
Me too.
Especially because he really logics his way out of it. He
does.
He really seems to be thinking through things and thinking through them quite clearly. And that ends up being a very good thing. Now, I have to compare this to the other really prominent suicide that we're going to get next season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which is going to be Denethor.
That's right.
So here we've got Sam, who is grieving the apparent death of Frodo.
Right.
And in that next season, we're going to have Denethor grieving the apparent death of Faramir.
That's right. That is absolutely right.
Sam ends up deciding not to take his own life. Denethor ends up doing so.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we make of this? Is it because Sam still has... he doesn't seem to have any hope here. He really is in despair.
Well, no. All right. He just had that black despair. I think, wow. What do we make of this? I think whatever we make of it, we'll discuss it more when it happens next season.
Maybe so.
I haven't put enough thought yet into Denethor's.
Yeah, I think we'll have to look at the language that surrounds Denethor's death.
Yeah, the words are going to be very, very important. So there's going to be a difference in the despair. There has to be. Sure, Sam has felt this black despair come on him from outside. We'll have to look very closely, very carefully at the words to see what the distinctions are. But, you might hazard a guess and say that the influence of the Palantir combined with Denethor's own pride are two of the factors that might lead him to make the decision that's the opposite of what Sam does here.
Is there an element of Denethor just not being entirely sane at that point?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I think so.
Maybe Sam is very depressed. He's despairing here.
He's grieving deeply, right?
Yeah, but he's still got his wits, and I'm not sure that Denethor totally does by the time he makes that decision.
No, and I actually don't think his grief is any greater than Sam's grief. In fact, I think Sam's grieving more than
I think
Denethor
you're right.
grieves.
Well, come in, it's Faramir.
I know. If it was Boromir, that would be another thing.
He'll realize he loves his son before the end and all that, but...
Love is relative in this case. How much do you love him?
I know what you mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right, though. I think Sam is definitely grieving more. Sam definitely feels like there is nothing left for him.
Right.
Even more so than Denethor. So yeah, it will be interesting to discuss this when we get to the Pyre of Denethor.
Yeah, I agree. Well, with vengeance and suicide off the table, Sam wonders aloud, well, if I can't do either of those things, what am I supposed to do? What is the thing I set out to do? But now he knows, and it comes from what he said in the Woody End, that quote that you read earlier. And the answer is to see it through.
That's right. And he's almost surprised. He's almost taken aback by this conclusion. Who, me? Me?
What?
Take it to the crack of doom?
You talking to me? You talking to me?
Are you looking at me? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like, really? Me? Little old me? I'm going to take it to the crack of doom?
Seriously. Wow.
And this is when this debate really begins, where he has these moments of just speaking aloud his objections and then the answers that come. Let's talk about this.
Oh, absolutely. His first objection is, I can't take the ring. The council gave it to him.
Mm-hmm. But the answer comes right away.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but they gave him companions to make sure that the errand did not fail.
That's right. Then as an aside, by the way, he complains and then predicts he'll choose wrongly. Which
He does.
very
And you
Sam.
know what? There's another repeated phrase here,
That's right.
or almost repeated phrase. He says, I'm sure to go wrong
Yeah.
here. Later on, he changes that a little bit.
Remember when Aragorn doubted himself as well at a time of crisis?
Yep, I thought about that too.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is, I don't know what to make of that. What do you make of that comparison between the two?
I mean, it's a repeated theme, right? It's an important moment relating to a decision about the ring bearer, right?
Yeah,
And
true.
Aragorn, everything I've done has gone wrong this day. I'm sure to make the wrong decision.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam here, as he always does, very self-deprecating,
Yeah.
not confident in his decision-making abilities. I don't know what to
Right.
make of it other than just how human this moment is for
Yeah.
both of them, really.
Maybe that's it. Maybe Tolkien is just recognizing the human condition here and recognizing that when we have these moments, when we've just had a failure, we just
Yes.
think more failures are going to come. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we've all been there. We failed at something,
Oh, yeah.
whatever it is. It can be anything, but you suffer a big enough failure and you start to think, oh, well, that I'm just going to start failing at everything now.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I'm not going to be able to do anything right.
Right.
So I think that's probably what's going on here. But then we get the second objection, right? He
Right.
says, well, yeah, I mean, first of all, I wish I wasn't the last, but okay.
Yeah. That's so sad. I wish Gandalf were here. Oh,
Yeah.
my heart just,
I know.
yes.
I know. Poor guy. But then he says, but it's not for me to put myself forward. This is, it's
Yeah.
almost like he doesn't say this, but it's, it's too big for me, right?
Right. It looks like humility, but I think it's almost more like fear. Like, this is a task that's way beyond me.
I think that's right. Yeah.
But the answer comes again right away. Look, you didn't put yourself forward. You've been put forward.
That's right.
Yeah.
And then we get this absolutely true corollary, which is that, look, neither Frodo nor Bilbo chose themselves either.
That's absolutely right.
They didn't put themselves forward. They were just put in this position.
I remember Gandalf explaining that to Frodo, that this is not you choosing to do this. This is you being chosen.
Yeah.
It's a passive thing that has happened to you, not something that you have done. Yeah.
That's right. And as I hear this, I'm reminded of 2 chapters ago, the discussion about the great tales, right?
Oh, yeah.
When Sam says that folk seem to have been just landed in them usually.
Oh, wow. That's a great catch. You're absolutely
Thank
right.
you. Yeah, I just thought of this.
Yeah.
Folk seem to have been just landed in them usually. Their paths were laid that way, as you put it.
Oh, man.
But I expect they had lots of chances like us of turning back, only they didn't.
Only they didn't, which is exactly the decision Sam's about to make. He had a choice and a chance to go back, but he's not
That's
going
right.
to.
That's
Wow.
exactly the decision that he's facing right now.
That is a great catch.
And he's just had this realization that that's what a hero is. That's
Yeah.
what Beren was. That's what Turin, lots
Yeah.
of bad choices aside, still a hero in his way.
That's right.
That's what Turin did. That's really powerful.
Boy, it sure is. Oh, my goodness.
And then he comes to the realization that, look, I have to make this decision on my own, but
Still has that self-doubt, doesn't he? Yeah.
he still doesn't have any confidence in his own ability to choose. He believes he's going to choose poorly.
Yeah.
Again, we get that phrase slightly variated from the previous incident of it. I'll be sure to go wrong this time.
Right. As an aside, by the way, I'm a bit shocked we don't have a little bonus encouragement from the gaffer's word hoard here. Like, as the gaffer would say, I'm sure to go wrong only on days that end in the letter Y, or something. Some terrible insult.
Yeah.
I'm actually shocked we don't have a phrase from the gaffer's word hoard there.
I know. You'd think that there'd be something there.
Yeah.
But then he goes through this, again, this logic kind of works in his
Yes.
favor. He goes through
That's right.
a very logical series of thoughts in order to reach a conclusion.
Yeah. If then, right? These are a series of just if then statements.
Yeah. It's like, okay, first of all, if we're found here, or if the ring is found here on him, that's it. That's
Yeah.
the end of all that's good.
Yeah. Game over, man. Right?
Game over,
we've
man.
referenced a number
Right.
of times.
Yeah.
And then he also points out to himself that he can't delay this decision, right? Because even not making a decision is still making a decision, as Rush might tell us.
If you choose not to decide,
You still have made a choice.
That's right. Yeah.
The end's going to come if he does that, because the war is already on and Sauron's forces are overwhelmingly larger than the forces of good. And if he does nothing, then the war will be won conventionally. So
Right.
I can't go back and ask the council.
Can
Of
you
course you
imagine?
can't. Can you imagine him walking all the way back to
walking
Rivendell?
several months all the way back to Rivendell? Mr. Elrond,
Should I take the ring to Mordor now? Well,
like,
it's
well,
a bit
don't
late
bother
for
now,
that, Sam.
It's all right. Just
our land is completely under siege. We're the only place left, along
Right.
with Tom Bombadil.
Yeah. No, don't bother, Sam. Let's just go into the shelter together. Got lots of prepackaged food.
How morbid is that? Right. My goodness.
Yep. So that's it. So that really just leaves two options. Either sit here and wait to die guarding Frodo's body.
Yeah.
Which, again, means that the enemy will get the ring and he knows it. Or take the ring and go on.
That's absolutely right.
And so, improbably, he takes a deep breath and he finally reaches that conclusion. Yeah, then take it is, he says.
My goodness. Well, now, later in this chapter, I don't remember if it's going to be next week or the week after, when he finds out that Frodo is poisoned but still alive, Sam will chastise himself for making what he thinks is the wrong decision.
Yeah.
But that self-criticism is itself wrong. This was the absolute right decision.
This is the absolute right decision. And in fact, going back is kind of the wrong decision. But we'll talk about that next time.
Yeah, it is.
Had he known that Frodo was alive, there's no place he could have taken him to. Like, where is he going to go? Where are they going to hide that's safe for them to hide for long enough for the poison to wear off? We don't even know how long that's going to take, right?
Right.
And we know that orcs are about to come passing through here pretty soon. So there's no place that he could have gone to hide. And if he had stayed there, all that would have accomplished would have been to just die next to Frodo.
Right.
And the ring would be captured anyway. So
I was sure he might have taken out a half dozen orcs first, but he would have eventually been overwhelmed. Yeah, no doubt about it.
Absolutely. There's no question of it. That would be just to do nothing again.
Yeah, you're right. It would be to accomplish nothing. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, we teased this earlier, but what about the mithril coat? Leaving the coat on Frodo will end up being the best decision Sam could have made. That coat triggers a huge fight between the two different groups of orcs. That is what clears the way for Sam to later rescue Frodo from the Tower of Cirith Ungol. He could never have done it if both the Tower garrison and the other troops were around.
That's right. That's right. You're absolutely right about that. And people might be thinking, but there's that moment at the Black Gate when the mouth of Sauron brings the coat out. And, and he's got some bargaining chips now. But as we'll see, even though he brings the coat out, it doesn't sway the negotiations in his favor.
No, it does not.
Yeah, Pippin has a moment when he sees the coat, but that is far outweighed by Sam actually rescuing Frodo.
Yeah, because otherwise the ring is...
That's
this is bad news otherwise. Sam rescuing Frodo. Otherwise, Sam's on his own with the ring going into Mordor, and the odds of his success are extraordinarily slim. Yeah,
exactly.
Well, Sam does have some hard decisions to make, and so does somebody else we know. They can either sit there till the orcs come and kill him over the mailbag, or, actually deliver it. So what do we have in the mailbag tonight, Sean?
I want to know what the orcs want that's in the mailbag.
I know. I kind of do too, actually.
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe it's this question. Nathan P. wrote in with this really interesting insight that's giving us a little chance to speculate and discuss.
Okay.
He points out, Ungoliant devours the light of the two trees. Much later, her descendant, Shelob, is defeated by a distant reflection of that same light imprisoned in the Phial of Galadriel. The other instrument of Shelob's defeat, an elvish blade, also sort of fittingly reflects the fact that it was the elves, not only the Valar, who were sorely aggrieved by Ungoliant's offense. I also see a third element of reflection, though this one is a contrast. Though it was the highest and mightiest people in Middle-earth, the Valar and the elves of Aman, who were aggrieved by Ungoliant, they were avenged at long last not by one of their own, but by the unlikeliest person imaginable, a hobbit from the Shire. And perhaps there's even something fitting about Sam's mode of unwitting revenge. He had no idea of the ages-long resonance of his act, and unlike Ungoliant and Feanor and his host, he was not attacking offensively out of lust or vengeance, but to defend someone dear to him. I don't know where there's any particular significance to this, Nathan says, but I like the poetic parallels I see here.
I definitely like the parallel as well. And I do believe there's some significance in the fact that while Ungoliant devoured the light of the two trees, Shelob is defeated by that same light contained within the vial. I love that.
That is cool.
It's a really nice little bookend there on the evil things in spider form. It does seem to fit this tendency of the later thing to be the lesser thing that we see throughout the Legendarium, right? The trees themselves were a lesser thing than the original lamps, Iluwin and Ormal, just as the sun and moon are lesser things than the two trees.
Right.
And as evil and powerful as Shelob is, she's still very much a lesser version of Ungoliant. I admit I hadn't thought much of the blade, but I suppose that also fits. maybe to an extent. I honestly can't help wondering, though, given Shelob's mass and the strength using her evil will that she used to throw herself down onto Sting, whether the fact that it was an elven-blade made a huge difference.
No, I mean, the text pretty much tells us, actually the text tells us right out.
That's true.
That the power of the blow was due to Shelob's own strength, her own evil will. So yeah, it seems pretty clear that the fact that it was Sting, that didn't really seem to make any difference in the outcome.
Right.
Now, as a literary device, I think it's a very nice bit of poetic justice that the elves are involved in it to that degree. You know, if it had been a barrow blade, that doesn't have the same poetic resonance that Nathan's talking about because that's a mannish blade as opposed to an elvish blade. So I do like that. I'd be remiss if I didn't point out that there are also parallels of the other version of Ungoliant's death here.
Oh, good catch. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, remember in the Silmarillion, of course, what we talked about back in season 1, it suggested that Ungoliant ate herself. But, of course, we've talked many times about this alternate version that's out there in which Eärendil slays her on one of his adventures.
Of course you have to bring up Eärendil, yeah.
Of course I do. Come on. You've been doing the show with me for 6 years. You know I'm going to bring up Eärendil every chance I get.
That's right.
But we can see the Phial, which is a lesser refracted version of Eärendil's light, facing off against Shelob, who's this lesser Ungoliant, as kind of a parallel of that idea, too.
Wow, that is good. Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah. But I think what's even more interesting is Nathan's pointing out that it's the unlikeliest person imaginable who wields the blade. I mean, this is Sam.
Yeah.
This is seemingly the least of the hobbits. That probably makes him the least of all the Fellowship.
Certainly.
And yet, I think it is precisely because he is defending Frodo that he has the emotional strength and the will to do the deed. And maybe this is further evidence of Elrond's adage that such is oft the course of deeds that move the wheels of the world. Small hands do them because they must, while the eyes of the great are elsewhere.
That's right.
I mean, who's got hands smaller than Sam? You know, I mean, obviously, you know, Merry and Pippin, they're young, they're immature. But I mean, again, Sam with his status, his humility, he seems like the lowest of the low.
True.
While the great, like Gandalf and Aragorn, they're busy. We talked about that in the intro. They are dealing with the siege of Gondor. They're dealing with the paths of the dead and the ships. None of them is even thinking of dealing with the Shelob situation.
If they even know Shelob exists.
If they even know she's there, right?
Exactly.
And yet Sam is here to do just that because he's the one who's here.
Yeah.
And he is going to do just that, at least for long enough to get the quest back on track.
That's right.
So that's pretty amazing. I really like those parallels, Nathan. Thank you for sending that in.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, Alan, do we have time for one more?
I think we have time for a quick one. Evan W. in Portland, Oregon writes in, speculative Maya genetics and biology aside, how is Gollum so sure that Shelob, a descendant of Ungoliant, would biologically pass the ring after consuming Hobbit McNuggets? Oh, that's not a phrase I ever need to use again. Thank you, Evan.
I know.
Gandalf seems to think the ring can only be unmade in Mount Doom. But what if Shelob could metabolize the power of the ring as her mother did those shiny trees? In other words, absorb the power instead of unmake it. Shelob may consume prey in the manner of normal spiders. In that case, we would be talking about Hobbit juice boxes. So, gosh, Evan.
Evan, man, come on. That's dark.
That is seriously dark. And Evan goes on to say if that were the case, that the ring would never enter her digestive system. However, Ungoliant clearly plans to consume the Silmarils, which are solid jewelry and in the same category as a magic ring. I hope it's safe to assume that the Silmarils aren't just shiny rock fruit gushers. Okay. Thank you, Evan, for that vivid description of certain things.
I mean, Evan, I'm just imagining like the scene in the Dark Crystal when the Skeksis hook the podling up to the little machine and it sucks the essence out of them and they drink it literally like a juice box.
That is not okay.
No, I can't imagine Shelob doing. Anyway, no, we don't want to go down that road.
No, we don't.
Well, I tend to take Gandalf at face value. If Gandalf thinks that the ring can only be unmade in Mount Doom, I think the ring can only be unmade in Mount Doom. That's fair. Kind of the whole point of the book. So
that's a very good point.
Right?
All right.
So I think it would pass right through Shelob's disgusting innards, just like Gollum hopes it would.
Yeah.
Now, like you said just a moment ago, during our answer to the previous question, Shelob is like Ungoliant, but she's lesser in all ways. So, yeah, sure, dear old mum could consume light in Silmarils, but that's not proof that Shelob could do the same.
True.
Maybe Ungoliant can digest Silmarils. I'm not even really sure
Yeah,
she
I'm
can.
not convinced 100%, no.
She thinks she can. Maybe she'd just chew on them for 5 minutes like bubble gum, and then they'd lose their flavor, and she'd spit them out or swallow them and pass them. I really don't want to think about it that much.
I don't want to think about either of those. Oh, man. Okay.
But we certainly know Shelob couldn't digest a Silmaril because she is a much lesser than her mom. It would probably burn her up from inside like it did to Karkaroth.
That's exactly what I'm thinking, a little Karkaroth action.
So, Silmarils aside, I see no reason to believe that Shelob could even digest a ring of power made by Sauron in the fires of Mount Doom if that's not a way that it can be destroyed. Yeah, it's a lesser artifact to a Silmaril, but still, there are certain things we know about the ring. Yep. One of them is that it can only be unmade in Mount Doom. So I have to assume she would pass it. So, yeah, if Gollum wants to get his gloves ready and get ready to dig for that precious.
Oh, gosh.
Sure, do it.
Oh, man. That's disturbing.
If she manages to eat Frodo, which fortunately she does not.
That's right. Thankfully, because otherwise we'd be having a very different discussion.
Yes, we would.
I have to admit that I hesitated at the notion that Ungoliant could actually digest a Silmaril. I think you kind of heard me kind of like, I'm not so sure. Mm-hmm. But, the more I thought about it, I actually think she could. If we recall, when we first read about Ungoliant, we read that there she sucked up all light that she could find and spun it forth again in dark nets of strangling gloom. Then as she consumed the light of the trees, she belched forth black vapors as she drank. Now, it's right after that, though, that we read what is maybe the clincher, right? I say maybe because none of these things were hallowed by Varda like the Silmarils were, so it's still very possible that she couldn't have done it. But this was the line that made me think she might. The light failed, but the darkness that followed was more than loss of light. In that hour was made a darkness that seemed not lack, but a thing with being of its own. For it was indeed made by malice out of light. And it had power to pierce the eye, to enter heart and mind, and strangle the very will. I can't help but imagine the terrible darkness that she would have made out of the incredible light of the Silmaril. It's terrifying.
That is terrifying. And that is pretty strong evidence that she could actually metabolize the Silmarils. She could metabolize the light. Yeah.
Isn't it scary? Yeah. But still, Shelob is definitely a lesser thing, and I agree with you. I don't think she could absorb the power of the ring in any way. Like you said, Gandalf's statement about it only being able to be unmade in the fire of Mount Doom is enough for me. But here's the thing. Even if she could, Gollum certainly doesn't know that. So as far as he's concerned, if she swallows the ring, it will eventually be passed, and there's not going to be a long line of folks waiting to sort through the spider poop to find it. So it's all his. I mean, nobody wants it now. I'm not even sure Sauron wants it back.
And not unless he can sanitize it in the waters of Mount Purell. But that is a very long way from Barad-dûr.
He gives it to the Witch King. Clean this up for me.
Wash this.
And then wash it again. Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, man. Well, folks, that wraps it up for another episode of the Prancing Pony Podcast. But be sure to join us again in 2 weeks, because next week we're off for the 4th of July, when Sam finds himself with some unpleasant visitors in the second part of The Choices of Master Samwise.
Yeah, and they're not here to mourn Frodo's passing, I don't think.
No, probably not.
No. But folks, we want to take a moment to thank the team that helps make this show better. Our research assistants, along with our Barlowman, Becca Davis, producer Jordan Rennells, social media manager Casey Hilsey, event and Patreon community coordinator Katie McKenna, and website guru Phil Dean.
Speaking of the website, please be sure to give us a visit there at theprancingponypodcast.com. We've got show notes, hilarious outtakes, Prancing Pony ponderings, and our online storefront, where you can get all sorts of PPP merch.
And you're definitely going to want to check out our library page. You know we love the books here at the Prancing Pony Podcast, and we have provided links for you to get nearly every book we mention on the show. And we do get a few pennies from the purchases you make there, so we thank you.
Indeed. And now we want to thank some more really important people, our patrons at the Círdan's contribution tier. I'm going to start with DeMay in Alaska, James in Virginia, Tamsin in Minnesota, Chad in Texas, Lance in New Jersey, Paul in Colorado, Jerry in Texas, Bruce in California, Mario in Utah, Seth in Texas, B in California, Joseph in Texas, Kathy from North Carolina, Lori from Washington, Carlos in California, and Brian in the UK.
And there's also Ned from Connecticut, Jerry from Washington, Joe in Washington, Erwin from the Netherlands, Dylan in Australia, Ben in Minnesota, Anthony in Texas, Dorwin in Michigan, Karen in the UK, Zaksu in Illinois, Jim in Maryland, Brian in Texas, Sarah in New Jersey, and June in Ireland. Thank you all so very much for your support, folks.
Indeed, thank you.
And everyone listening, please be sure you don't miss any episodes of the Prancing Pony Podcast. Subscribe to the show through Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or whatever your favorite podcast app is.
That's right. But one last thing as always, don't forget to send your thoughts, comments, and, well, most of all, what you'd say to us when you loot our corpses to Bartleman at theprancingponypodcast.com. Well, you don't mind if I take this book, do you, sir? I'll need this book where I'm going.
Man.
And if you want a chance to have your actual voice heard, you can send us audio of you asking your question by visiting podinbox.com/prancingponypod and record your question for us.
Just please still send the question to Bartleman.
Yeah. Also, please don't loot our corpses.
Hey, look, I won't need it anymore.
To each their own. I'm not going to need it.
Fine.
Right?
Yeah. Can't take it with me. Now, Bartleman's a lot more reliable lately, but we do get a lot of mail, so we'll get to you as soon as we can, and your question or comment may be featured on a future episode.
As always, though, this has been far too short a time to spend among such excellent and admirable listeners. But until next time.
Farewell, friends.